And speaking of inspirations, you also mentioned that you love musical theater, and I'm in New York, and I also love musical theater. So I want to ask, first of all, have you had any inspiration from musicals that have worked their way into your work?
I played a nun in The Sound of Music at small theater a few years back, and the drama that goes on behind there is insane. And you had the seven kids, right? And then the nuns were not nun-like at all. We were crazy. In fact, one girl was an artist, and her last name was Wheeler. I can't remember her first name. And this was before I started writing. And I was just like, oh my gosh, we couldn't let the kids in because somebody brought Silly Putty. We had to lock the kids out, but we were laughing our butts off at this thing. And she sculpted, and it was really funny. And it's obscene, but it was very funny. But so I thought, oh, that would be really fun to do a story like that. I started one, and I think it would go too dark because because there's a lot of sexism behind the scenes.
Mm.
I found that, and I thought, yeah,
So I'm so there's something about when you find something funny, you then end up kind of seeing, oh, this humor is covering something that's very dark. And so
yeah,
because you're kind of you lead with the humor, then you're like, oh wait, but I can't look away.
yeah. I like comedy because it is dark, but and I do think that I end up with funny dialogue, but it does cover something, and I really hadn't thought about it in that light, but you're exactly right. And it really does cover a lot. We have to do what we have to survive. And
Yeah.
I actually, in the Marquise Misstep, the heroine in that book has a braying laugh that's very off-putting. And somebody on a review said they didn't like her character at all. But to me, she's covering up and it shows. And it it's why. And I think you just said why,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
yeah. And
She's
I
using
didn't even
humor.
realize it writing it, but that's exactly, I knew that she was doing it. It's still there. She's just has, I just find it interesting. I'll
Yeah.
tell you what I do bring in for sure is these kids, and I do it in my contemporary as well, where they're maybe a 5-year-old who sounds about 20. Because and a girl at work, I worked at Hertz, and she read this one book I had, and she said, I don't think a 5-year-old would talk like that. And I said, you didn't have my 5-year-old. My daughter was way too old. And it was my fault because I got divorced when she was 2. And I was like, I need your help. I can't do it all by myself. And it was just the two of us. And she is now 45. She has 2 boys, and she is a special ed teacher, and she's a fantastic special ed teacher for very difficult special needs kids. And I
Mm.
see how I raised her and how she talks to these kids. It's just, I don't know, it really squeezes your heart because I see what I did and my influence. It's really fascinating.
Mm. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
When thinking about Broadway musicals and historical romance, is there anything that they're both doing that's the reason why you like them both? So are they doing the same thing for you or are they doing different things for you?
No, I think that they absolutely feel a need in me and that sports does the same thing. What's heartbreaking about that is somebody has to lose,
Yes.
but there's a winner and a loser. And that makes that tough unless you have your absolute favorite team, which I do, but it's kind of sad sometimes and makes me cry because it's the ending music they would play at the basketball games, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and and it would go bum 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 that Black Eyed Pea. I have a feeling, I would start crying at the end because you're bouncing up and down because you won, and then. It's just that what it does. I've gotten so emotional, it's ridiculous.
So is it fair to say that historical romance, Broadway, and sports all deliver big emotions or crystallize nuances into big emotions for you, and that's what you are responding to and loving about it?
Yes,
All right.
absolutely. So I'm a picky reader. I and most writers are picky readers. You have those things that tug at you, especially once you start delving into the craft and how to snag them by the emotions. Most of my reviews, you're gonna find mistakes and stuff, but they're like, oh my gosh, I was gonna just read this every night, and I couldn't even clean the house because I had to read it all night. She literally wrote that, and I was like, okay, that's nice.